Manchester United have finally finalized the signing of Bryan Mbeumo, who alongside Matheus Cunha has the potential of forming one of the most lethal front lines in the Premier League. Now, I've already made 2 videos on these amazing players where I show all of their capabilities, but on this video, I want to focus on something different. I want to show you how both Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha are actually going to help Ruben Amorim solve one of his biggest tactical flaws. Without any further ado, let's analyze. All right, let's get started first by framing the problem. Ruben Amorim's biggest tactical flaw at Manchester United, the thing that needs fixing the most, is actually the build-up phase. Now, the build-up phase is not some hipster, phase. It's not an aesthetic phase. In fact, the build-up phase, that's when a team is at their most proactive, because literally what it means is that the ball is in your court. Okay, so you have the ball as a team. How do you go on about unlocking the opposition? Okay, so a team that has good build-up routines and principles is a team that is in charge of its destiny. It's a team that is in control. And of course, as we've seen last season, Manchester United are far from being a team in control. So basically, Manchester United are actually good in this primary stage of the build-up phase, where they build up with 3 center-backs and 2 central midfielders. This pentagon shape that Ruben Amorim favors provides a lot of bodies, and also geometrically speaking, it also provides a lot of triangles, which means that for Manchester United, it's actually quite easy to keep the ball in this primary stage. The problem, however, is what happens once we move to the secondary stage, which is transitioning from having the ball in these areas in our own defensive third into moving the ball into the attacking third and creating goal-scoring chances. This is where Manchester United struggles, and this is the one thing that Ruben Amorim needs to fix. And here, of course, by having a simple, straightforward statistical analysis, you're going to see how the data actually supports what I just said. Manchester United were ranked 4th in the league in terms of touches. So this actually shows, a certain amount of dominance on Manchester United's part. But of course, this is not aligned with the eye test. I mean, we've watched Manchester United last season, and the last thing we can say about us is that we were dominant in every game. So we touched the ball quite often compared to other teams in the Premier League, but yet we have nothing to show for it because we ended up 15th in the league. So once you actually look at the areas where those touches happened, that's when the full picture actually reveals itself. Manchester United are top among Premier League teams when it comes to touches in the defensive third. And when you look at touches in the attacking third, that's when you see the full problem. Manchester United actually plummet down into, oblivion. So what this shows is that while Manchester United touches the ball quite often, most of those touches actually happen in our own defensive third. So we are not effective at transitioning and moving the ball from our defensive third into the attacking third or into the opposition's defensive third. In other words, our possession is sterile, okay? And this is further amplified by the fact that we are actually 2nd in the league when it comes to carries. However, when you look at the nature of those carries, again, Manchester United drops into the abyss when it comes to progressive carries. So yes, we do a lot of carries, but a lot of those carries don't really matter. They are absolutely inoffensive to the opposition. But when it comes to carries that actually matter, that actually threaten, that progress the ball with intent, with attacking intent, and intent to hurt the opposition, Manchester United are actually toothless, okay? So where does Cunha and Mbeumo come into the equation? Well, because Manchester United, with Cunha, first of all, they went straight and just bought one player who is extremely good at carrying the ball into the opposition's final third. In fact, Matheus Cunha ranks 4th in the league. That is an amazing performance, especially considering that he plays for Wolves, a team that doesn't really dominate possession. So he doesn't touch the ball as often as the Manchester City players, for example. And yet he is ranked 4th in the league when it comes to carries into the opposition's final third. Where does Mbeumo come into the equation? He's also capable of doing that, the same thing as Matheus Cunha. But what he shines is the fact that Bryan Mbeumo is actually 2nd in the league when it comes to touches in the attacking third. And this is very important because, as I've shown before, Manchester United touches the ball mainly in the defensive third. But to move the ball into the attacking third, not only do you need a linchpin like Matheus Cunha, who can carry the ball into the final third, but also you need players like Mbeumo who are good at finding space and who are technically at ease and able to receive the ball in tight situations. And Mbeumo definitely will enhance our ability in getting those touches in the attacking third. Also notice how he is second after Salah, but also remember that Brentford don't have as many touches. I think Brentford were ranked in terms of touches like 13th or 14th in the league, and yet Mbeumo is actually second in the league. This just shows you that he's got an amazing ability when it comes to touching the ball where it matters. No worries, no wonder that he ended up with 20 goals and 7 assists in the league this season. So now let's move on to the tactical board to see how these two players are going to actually fit into Ruben Amorim's system and help him solve these glaringly obvious issues. So Matheus Cunha, like I said, he's going to work in this system as a sort of linchpin. A linchpin that can facilitate the transition for Manchester United from that primary stage build-up into the secondary stage build-up. Why? Because Cunha can come in deep, collect the ball, and then he can dribble past 1 or 2 players. In that Cunha video, that I'm going to put the link in the description, I've shown how he does that. Plenty of examples. So he's quite potent in that regard. The other thing with Cunha is that he can actually help unlock Bruno even more, because originally Bruno is going to be here. Like when you look at the lineups prior to a game, you'll see Bruno alongside someone like Casemiro, Ugarte in this double pivot position. But we know where Bruno can impact the game, and it's here. Okay, Bruno is an agent of chaos. He doesn't like structure. Okay, so in this situation, in build-ups, you can have Bruno come in deep, collect the ball, and then play one of his trademark Hollywood passes. But of course, we know that Mr. Hollywood is a high-risk, high-reward type of player, so you don't want to do that all the time. So sometimes, actually, Bruno can forget about the ball, just ignore the build-up, move into these forward positions right here, and Cunha can just take his spot right here. Come collect the ball deep, and then he can dribble past the opposition and just break the opposition lines. And that way we can move on from having the ball in this primary stage into the secondary stage. Now, where does Mbeumo come into the equation? Well, one thing that I think a lot of people are missing about Mbeumo, like a lot of people, like I've seen a lot of analysis videos where people, talk about him as a traditional inverted winger, someone who's going to play here as like the Mo Salah role. But Mbeumo is different in a sense because Mbeumo is also a striker, unlike Mo Salah. And Mbeumo, just 2 seasons ago, he was playing in a 3-5-2 system, playing alongside Ivan Toney. In fact, him and Toney had a partnership that was actually quite similar to that of Dwight York and Andy Cole in a way. This is extremely important, and let me explain why. Because when you play against opposition, what enables the opposition to press you with intensity and suffocate you is their defensive line. If they're able to push the defenders further forward, that means they shorten the distance between their defensive line and your goal. That means they make the pitch smaller. Therefore, they can press you with more intensity. How do you stop that? In my video analysis of the game between Al Hilal and Manchester City, I showed how Simone Inzaghi has instructed 3 or 4 of his forward players to stay high and wide up the pitch in order to, stretch the pitch vertically and horizontally as much as possible to make sure that the Manchester City forwards could not press them effectively. And that's why they won that game. Mbeumo can actually help us in a similar way. Mbeumo, instead of staying wide right here, he could actually come in as a second striker. The reason I picked Højlund is because he is the striker who provides more of a threat in behind the defensive line, unlike Xerxes, who actually likes to come into these holes right here and collect the ball. So someone like Højlund and Mbeumo, or if you believe the rumors, someone like Benjamin Sesko, if we end up going for him, could be absolutely lethal in pinning down the opposition defensive lines. A defender like Van Dijk would never venture, 10 or 15 yards ahead if he is facing Højlund and Mbeumo. Last season, we didn't have that luxury. Højlund was the only player who provided this threat, and he was not really in form last season, was he? So a lot of defenders simply could ignore that Højlund threat and move further forward. That's not going to be the case with someone like Mbeumo. What this does is that it actually provides us with a few, different scenarios where a few of our other players can shine. For example, Ahmad, who most likely is going to play as a right wing back this season, could actually come in and occupy the role of a traditional winger. As a result, Mazraoui, who also is most likely going to play as the right-sided centre back, is of course a fullback, and in this system he can easily drop into this fullback position to provide coverage for both Ahmad and Mbeumo. Not only that, but the fact that Højlund and Mbeumo are going to push the defensive line further deeper, this means that there's going to be plenty of space right here for the likes of Matheus Cunha, Bruno, Ahmad, also players like Xerxes and Mason Mount to actually come into this space and cause havoc. So this is how Mbeumo and Cunha are definitely going to be able to enhance, this Ruben Amorim, optimize also Ruben Amorim's system. Okay, so based on what I showed you in this video, I would not be surprised if Manchester United had a post-season briefing where the main topic was how do we want to play and what's preventing us from doing that? And then what can we do in terms of training, in terms of tactical tweaks, in terms of promotion of talented youngsters from the academy, and in terms of transfer business, in order for us to have all of the tools required to be able to bring our tactical vision to life. And I think that what transpired from that briefing was we need carriers. Okay, we need players who are comfortable having touches in the attacking third. We need players who can stretch the pitch both horizontally and vertically. And that's where Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha came into the equation. And the reason why I'm really confident that someone like Omar Berrada is definitely, setting up the foundation for, long-term success in the future is because, like with Mbeumo and Cunha, these are definitely the profiles that we need in order to enhance our capabilities this season. And those are the players that Omar Berrada went to get for Ruben Amorim. So the strategy seems to be quite precise, in terms of what Manchester United are looking for in order to enhance their chances of winning football games and as a result, competing in the next 2 to 3 seasons. So I am extremely excited. However, I know that when it comes to tactics, many people might have their own opinions. I think it's quite subjective because, so far we haven't seen Matheus Cunha and Mbeumo on the pitch. So I'd like to hear it from you guys. So how do you think players like Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo are actually going to enhance our play style and our performance on the pitch? Please let me know in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed the content. And also I'm going to leave the links to the Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo videos in the description, so please feel free to check him out. Until next time, cheers.